Well, a new UN report has warned that 22 countries could face potentially increased acute food insecurity from June to November of this year. The Food and Agriculture Organization and World Food Programme are now calling for urgent humanitarian action to save lives in 18 hunger hotspots. The report highlights conflict in Sudan, saying it has negative impacts in neighboring nations and deepens economic shocks in low-income nations.
Within West and Central Africa, we have a particular concern for the conflict-affected areas in Burkina and in Mali, where we have 45,000 people that are facing catastrophic levels of hunger. The worrisome part is also that now we see the conflict in the Sahel spreading to the southern countries in the Gulf of Guinea area. And for example, we have already 27,000 people that have left Burkina Faso, and they have arrived in the northern part of Togo.
We're now joined by Kyungnan Park, the WFP's Director of Emergencies. He is based in Rome. Thank you so much for joining us on Africa Live. What more can you tell us about this report, and how serious is the situation?
Nice to be here. Thank you very much for having me. The Hunger Hotspots is a report that FAO and WFP, we work together on early warnings on acute food insecurity. And this report that was launched yesterday covers 22 countries that are at high risk of worsening during the period of June to November. And this report also spotlights the risk of the recent spillover of the Sudan crisis and the negative impacts in neighboring countries. Specifically to Sudan, as you've heard, it was already hosting over 1 million refugees, and more than 1 million people are expected to flee the country to the neighboring countries, and an estimated additional 2.5 million people inside Sudan will be facing acute hunger in the coming months. So from our end, humanitarian access is imperative to ensure the delivery of critical humanitarian assistance to prevent further starvation and death.
I wanted to ask you about, we see conflict as one of the things that really contributes to this, but what other factors are you seeing are contributing to this, and how are international agencies like yours, together with governments, doing to help deal with this current situation?
Well, they're overlapping shocks. There's conflict that we've already discussed. There's the economic risks. Economic shocks and stresses continue to drive acute hunger in almost all the hotspots. This continues when, more countries, apart from conflict, due to the socioeconomic fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic, the ripple effect from the conflict of Ukraine. And despite the year-long easing of international food prices, global food prices are likely to remain elevated. And this will hit low and middle income countries, especially with projected slow growth alongside the inflation. The other side of the coin is this is likely to be further compounded by a drop in donor support as donor governments plan to scale back their funding to pre-pandemic levels, while global humanitarian needs increase and the cost of assistance remains at extremely high levels. And the second one that I would say, apart from conflict, would be climate risks. Weather extremes remain significant drivers. There's heavy rains, tropical storms. Cyclone Mocha has left a trail of devastation in Myanmar recently, and we're seeing the hurricane season coming into the Latin America and the Caribbean region. The report flags a major risk of El Nino conditions, where meteorologists have forecasted with an 82% probability to emerge by mid-2023. And this is a big concern for us. And on your question on what could international agencies do and governments to help deal with the current situation, I think I would like to bring up 5 things. First of all, we really need extraordinary resource mobilization. This will need to be front-loaded to immediately respond to deteriorating food security conditions to ensure we don't get worse. The second thing would be humanitarian access. Ensure full and unimpeded safe humanitarian assistance to effectively facilitate life-saving interventions. Third, we need to keep open the commercial and supply lanes, both the informal and the formal trade barriers, to ensure supply goods are not helping us, which include the food, the fuel, and fertilizer. Fourth, the political solutions. We need to advance stability and peace and get commitment from all the actors to prevent that hunger be used as a weapon of war. Fifth, national social shock responsive systems to particularly help governments in areas of health, nutrition, agriculture, food, and water.
Kyungnan, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us all your insights.